Have you ever experienced a profound sense of loneliness, even in a bustling crowd, as if the discussions around you were merely background noise? Hollow phrases devoid of genuine significance? If that resonates with you, it may not indicate that you are antisocial. Rather, it could suggest a higher level of intelligence. Arthur Schopenhauer, a notable philosopher from the 19th century, posited that true intelligence often leads to a state of solitude, not out of a dislike for others, but because such individuals can see through the societal illusions that bind people together. When your thoughts operate on a different wavelength, typical social interactions can seem draining and even pointless. But is being alone a misfortune or route to genuine freedom? Consider this: most social exchanges are filled with trivial chatter and gossip, repeating the same scripted niceties day after day. In contrast, highly intelligent people yearn for depth. They pursue truth, pose the questions that many shy away from, setting them apart. When you penetrate the superficial distractions of society, it becomes challenging to feign their importance. The more insight you gain, the more detached you may feel, and suddenly the world appears quieter and lonelier. Yet, perhaps this isn't necessarily negative. Schopenhauer argued that the majority of people are motivated by a relentless cycle of desires, distractions, and the need for social approval. However, the wise and deeply reflective individuals see beyond this facade. They understand that most human relationships are based on convenience rather than genuine comprehension. Once you grasp this reality, how can you revert to your previous mindset? How do you push yourself into conversations that feel forced and into relationships that lack sincerity? Many people don't. They withdraw. They prefer solitude over the tiring facade of fitting in. However, solitude is not merely an escape. It also serves as a portal. When you are free from the pressure to conform, you gain something much more valuable: freedom. The freedom to think, create, and explore ideas without the limitations of societal expectations. Numerous great thinkers throughout history, from Nietzsche to Tesla, viewed solitude as essential rather than burdensome, because when the distractions of the world fade away, your mind can truly flourish. Yet, this journey is not suited for everyone. It can be isolating, challenging, and demands the bravery to be different. So, the question arises: if intelligence naturally leads to solitude, is this isolation a prison, or is it the key to genuine freedom? Have you ever felt drained after a social encounter? Not from physical fatigue, but from the weight of your perceptions? Conversations that should be light and easy often turn into a labyrinth of contradictions, hidden agendas, and unspoken truths. You hear what people say, but more importantly, you perceive what they don't say, and at times, that can be overwhelming. Intelligent individuals don't just process information. They absorb, analyze, and dissect it. They pick up on behavioral inconsistencies, subtle changes in tone, and micro-expressions that reveal unexpressed feelings. With this heightened awareness comes a certain burden. Many individuals seek social interactions for connection, enjoyment, and a sense of belonging. However, for those who think deeply, each interaction can resemble a complex equation to decipher, a puzzle with pieces that don't quite align. They perceive the discrepancies between words and their meanings, between appearances and reality, and once these insights are gained, they cannot be ignored. Schopenhauer posited that society is built on illusions: the illusion of harmony, shared understanding, and mutual respect. Yet, intelligent individuals often find it challenging to engage in this illusion because they recognize its fragility. They notice how frequently words lack substance, how social niceties serve as facades, and how conformity is rewarded while authenticity is frequently resisted. This awareness complicates their ability to participate in the effortless social interactions that others seem to enjoy. While some can overlook contradictions and inconsistencies, deep thinkers are often troubled by them. Additionally, there is the challenge of seeking meaningful conversation. Most social exchanges tend to be routine: polite interactions, light-hearted jokes, or discussions about the weather and current events. However, those who yearn for depth find little fulfillment in such exchanges. They wish to explore topics of purpose, the mysteries of existence, and the essence of consciousness. They are attracted to profound discussions, yet they navigate a world that often prioritizes comfort over depth. This creates a painful contradiction. They long for connection, but find it difficult to locate others who share their perspective. Many intelligent people tend to withdraw, not necessarily because they dislike companionship, but because superficial interactions can feel exhausting rather than satisfying. They opt for solitude not from a dislike of humanity, but out of necessity. They prefer to be alone with their thoughts than to feel isolated in a crowd. However, this withdrawal has its drawbacks. Humans are inherently social beings, and even the most self-sufficient individuals feel the desire for connection. The challenge is not solely one of intellect, but also of emotion. To think deeply is to perceive the world in a unique way, but this often leads to a solitary journey. Schopenhauer posited that the masses exist in a world of illusion, a space where social validation, status, and shallow interactions govern behavior. In contrast, the wise and truly intelligent see beyond this veneer. Once you become aware of the game, participating becomes nearly impossible. For Schopenhauer, solitude was not a burden, it was a gift. He contended that those who could appreciate their own company and find satisfaction in contemplation, rather than in social acceptance, were the ones who had genuinely risen above the world's illusions. Most individuals seek companionship not out of genuine value for it, but due to a fear of loneliness. He considered this to be the greatest weakness of all. Picture yourself walking through a bustling marketplace. The noise, the activity, the constant chatter. It can be overwhelming. Everyone is engaged in conversation, trade, and performance. But what if you had no interest in what they were offering? What if you were able to see through the facade of their interactions and recognize that much of it was merely performative? Would you continue to stay among the crowd, or would you quietly depart? For Schopenhauer, the answer was evident. The wise individuals withdraw from the marketplace of social approval and seek solitude, where thoughts are untainted and authenticity is maintained. However, this retreat often comes with a price. Society tends to view those who choose to be alone unfavorably, interpreting solitude as a sign of failure, suggesting that a person is antisocial, arrogant, or unable to connect. Yet Schopenhauer contended that the reality is quite the opposite. He posited that solitude represents the highest form of self-reliance, a condition in which one no longer relies on external distractions to derive meaning. The truly wise do not pursue validation, they pursue truth. And truth is frequently discovered in silence rather than amidst the clamor. The philosopher also discussed intellectual misanthropy, a detachment not born of hatred but of insight. It is the understanding that much of what people pursue, status, popularity, material wealth, is trivial in the larger context. Once you grasp this truth, it becomes challenging to participate in social customs with the same fervor as before. Thus, the wise are not lonely due to an inability to connect, but because they refuse to accept the superficial. They prefer to be alone in their quest for truth, rather than be surrounded by those ensnared in illusion. Picture this: you've dedicated years to uncovering the truth, delving into the depths of your own mind, and scrutinizing every belief that society has instilled in you. Consequently, you find yourself on the periphery, observing the world as it whirls around you. You exist as a detached spectator. This encapsulates the paradox of intelligence in the quest for genuine understanding. You often have to relinquish the comforts of social acceptance. Schopenhauer understood this concept well. For him, the journey for knowledge came with personal sacrifices. The more you deepen your comprehension of the world, the more you recognize how distant you are from those who choose to live unexamined, surface-level lives. You begin to notice contradictions, hypocrisies, and the fragility of human constructs, and rather than feeling empowered by this insight, it can often feel burdensome. The more you learn, the more apparent the flaws in everything around you become. It's akin to receiving a key to a vast and complex puzzle, only to discover that you must solve it on your own. Living outside societal norms is not merely about steering clear of superficiality. It represents a profound psychological transformation that influences everything from mental well-being to personal development. On one side, this solitude can spark remarkable creativity. Freed from the incessant distractions of social interactions, the mind has the freedom to wander, explore new concepts, and create without consider the most brilliant thinkers, artists, and innovators in history. Many of them existed on the outskirts of society, not due to an inability to connect with others, but because their visions required solitude. Their isolation was not a confinement, but rather a rich environment for their most significant creations. Yet, this same solitude can also feel like a mental cage. The longer one distances themselves from the crowd, the harder it becomes to manage the emotional burden of being alone. As you step away from the chaos of the world, you may discover that the emptiness you once experienced starts to feel overwhelming. It's undeniable that humans are inherently social beings. The anguish of feeling misunderstood or ignored can foster a sense of alienation that no level of intellectual achievement can alleviate. The essential element here is finding balance. The paradox exists in the struggle between the great freedom that comes from breaking away from societal norms and the deep loneliness that often follows. Many profound thinkers, including Schopenhauer, found comfort in solitude, yet they also understood the fragile nature of this state. Too much solitude risks complete disconnection from the world. Too little leads to becoming enslaved by the very conventions you aim to escape. This psychological balancing act is what makes living outside societal norms both thrilling and draining. The fragile essence of this solitude, too much of it, can lead to a complete disconnection from the world. Too little, and you risk becoming enslaved to the very conventions you aim to escape. This psychological balancing act is what renders living outside societal norms both thrilling and draining. It's the cost of intellectual freedom, the ability to think without limitations, yet also the weight of never truly belonging. What if, for just a brief moment, you cease to care about others' opinions of you? Picture a life where your thoughts, ideas, and actions are not dictated by anyone else's approval. In this scenario, your worth is defined not by social acceptance, but by your own criteria and understanding of the world. This embodies the true independence of thought, a principle that Schopenhauer not only esteemed but also cherished. He argued that one of the biggest barriers to authentic intellectual freedom is the desire for external validation. From a young age, society instills in us that our value is linked to how we are viewed by others. We learn to mold our lives according to the expectations of our families, peers, and society at large. However, in doing so, we become captives of the collective mindset, ensnared in a cycle of seeking approval and validation. The more we yearn for acceptance, the less we can think and act freely. For those with high intelligence, the desire for approval can feel stifling, particularly when their thoughts naturally stray from conventional views. When your ideas confront the established norms, seeking validation from others becomes not only impractical but also counterproductive. The more you attempt to conform to existing standards, the more you compromise your authenticity. You might start to question the value of aligning your thoughts with others when you have the capability to think independently. This is where the liberation from the need for approval transforms into a significant advantage. By freeing yourself from the quest for validation, you gain the ability to think autonomously, exploring ideas without the fear of being judged. A person who is unconcerned with fitting into societal expectations can engage with the world with an open mind, unencumbered by limitations. They can challenge the assumptions that confine others, investigate new opportunities, and foster creativity without restrictions. Schopenhauer, in his unique way, championed this kind of independence. He frequently warned against the perils of conformity, encouraging individuals to resist the urge to follow the crowd. In his perspective, the pursuit of external approval leads to a superficial existence, diverting attention from the deeper, more significant journey toward truth and self-awareness. For him, genuine wisdom was discovered not in societal acceptance, but in the capacity to think freely and to embrace one's own inner vision, irrespective of external judgment. This philosophy carries significant implications for personal development. When we cease to seek validation from others, we start to discover our true selves, moving beyond the superficial identities we've taken on to blend in. This allows us to chase our passions, explore our interests, and make choices that resonate with our authentic selves, rather than conforming to expectations. The ability to live without the incessant need for approval fosters a deep sense of self-reliance, which supports personal development and encourages a more profound inquiry into the meaning of life. However, this freedom encompasses another dimension: liberation from the mental barriers we impose on ourselves. Frequently, the quest for approval mirrors our internal uncertainties, serving as a means to reassure ourselves of our worth. By letting go of the need for external validation, we not only free our minds but also confront and heal the insecurities that prevent us from fully realizing our potential. In doing so, we enter a space of intellectual and emotional liberation, where our identities are shaped not by others, but by our own perceptions of ourselves and the world around us. Solitude is often misinterpreted in a society that celebrates constant social engagement. It's common to mistake solitude for loneliness, but for those who embrace being alone, it serves not as a confinement, but as a refuge, a space where thoughts can roam freely, creativity can flourish, and personal development can take place. Schopenhauer acknowledged the distinct strength of solitude, while also cautioning against its potential downside: isolation. The secret to wielding this double-edged sword is to welcome solitude without letting it devolve into emotional or social seclusion, as Schopenhauer would suggest. The key is to view solitude not as an escape, but as a conscious decision to foster inner tranquility and growth. In moments of solitude, we create room for profound reflections that are often drowned out by the chaos of everyday life. It is during these serene times that we connect most deeply with our true selves. We don't require the distractions of social interactions to feel complete. Instead, we discover our sense of purpose within. Solitude provides a chance to reconnect with our essence, peeling away the layers of societal expectations and judgments that can cloud our authentic identity. Nevertheless, as Schopenhauer also noted, maintaining a careful balance is crucial. If solitude is taken to an extreme, it can easily turn into isolation. The longer we distance ourselves from the surrounding world, the harder it becomes to address our emotional needs and to appreciate the richness that meaningful relationships offer. Even the most independent thinkers and the most creative minds need moments of connection. Authentic relationships act as mirrors that reflect our personal growth and offer insights we might not achieve on our own. Without these connections, we risk becoming overly self-absorbed, leading to a disconnection from both others and the broader world. So, how can we enjoy solitude without slipping into isolation? The key is finding balance. It involves allowing time for the introspection that solitude brings, while also pursuing meaningful relationships that support your mental and spiritual well-being. Nurture connections that align with your values, foster your development, and respect your uniqueness. These bonds will provide the emotional support you need without sacrificing your independence. Embrace solitude as a means of personal growth, but also acknowledge the significance of community in your journey. By achieving this balance, solitude can shift from a potential pitfall to a pathway for enhanced creativity, deeper understanding, and more genuine living. It's about being at ease with your own company while remaining open to the world. Use your alone time to sharpen your intellect and clarify your purpose. Then re-enter the world not as a mere observer, but as a more complete version of yourself. If these concepts resonate with you, and you feel your journey towards self-discovery and understanding the world is just beginning, I encourage you to join this community. Don't miss out on future insights that could transform your perspective on life. Subscribe now, give this video a thumbs up, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. I share videos daily that delve into profound topics of psychology, philosophy, and personal growth. Let's continue this journey of self-exploration and intellectual freedom together. Thank you for watching, and remember, your mind has no limits when you're unafraid to think independently.